Hey guys, we are back by request with a healthy cat food recipe that you can make at home. It is so easy, it is so much better for your cats, and it will cost literal pennies a day to feed them. It's gonna be cheaper than even the cheap Friskies or cheap brands that you buy at the store, but it will be better than some of the most expensive brands that you can get. So come on, I'll show you how to make it. Okay guys, we are back, and as promised, we are gonna make healthy cat food today. I'm gonna give you a super easy recipe. Now, in the previous video, I gave you all of the principles that you need to know to be able to make your own healthy cat food at home with whatever you have on hand. But as promised in that one, and as very much requested, today I'm gonna give you an actual recipe on how to make it. But before we do that, as always, let's break down the cost and see how much money we're saving doing this at home. So with what I'm about to show you how to make, I ended up making about 20 pounds of wet cat food for roughly just under $10. So we'll say $10. So let me get my notes so that I can tell you how much we break this down, because you know me, I won't remember it all. But looking it up online, the cheaper brands of wet cat food runs about 15 cents an ounce. Most cans are 5.5 ounces, which comes out to about 85 cents a can. Now again, this is not, high quality cat food. This is your cheap brands that are more common. So what we made for $10 broke down to 3 cents a can. So the cheap wet brands are 15 cents a can. Our good quality whole ingredients are 3 cents a can. So for the average size can, that comes out to 16 cents a can instead of 80 cents a can. So for the total amount that we made, the whole 20 pounds that we made for $10, had you purchased that in the wet brand cat food, the cheap brand, it would have cost you $48 to buy what we made for $10. However, that's not an equivalent comparison, because we used good, healthy, whole food ingredients. They're not using that. Theirs is full of, sodium and sugar and all the byproducts that they get left over from scraps in the meat industry. We're using actual, real human grade food. So if we compare what we made to something a little more equivalent, which would be more of a higher end whole food cat food, then you see that those sell for about 77 cents an ounce. So for that same 5.5 ounce equivalent of a normal size can, you're looking at more like $4.20 for whole food cat food made with human grade ingredients. So what we made in our $10 20 pound pot, had we purchased that cat food, which is a little closer to what we actually made, you would have spent for the same amount $246.40. And we did it for $10 with very little work in an Instant Pot. So let's go. I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to start by washing your chicken. We have our 10 pounds of leg quarters. You can either do this on the stove top or in a pressure cooker or Instapot. I'm going to do this first part in the Instapot just because it's going to make it a little quicker. But all you're doing is putting your meat in your pot and putting a little bit of water and boiling it. The longer you boil it, the more nutrients you're going to pull from the bones. If you do it in a pressure cooker or Instapot, you can do it as long as you want, but the longer you do it, the more nutrients you pull from the bones. If you do it on the stovetop, same thing. But do it at least until the meat falls off the bone, because you want to pull the meat off the bone. I'm using chicken leg quarters for this recipe, but you can replace the meat for any meat. Whatever you have on hand or whatever you can get or whatever's on sale, any meat will work in this recipe. However, the benefit of using the leg quarters, for one, it's going to be pretty inexpensive. I can get leg quarters on sale in 10 pound bags around here for anywhere from $3 to $4 to $5 a bag, depending on what the sale is for the week. And that's 10 pounds of meat. Another reason that the leg quarters work really well is because there's a lot of collagen in the joints, and there's also a lot of fat, which cats actually need to have for a healthy diet. There's also a lot of taurine. Dark meat has more taurine than the white meat on your turkeys and birds and, you know, chickens and things like that. So it actually is a better part of the chicken for the cat to eat for the nutrition that they need. And also it kind of has a stronger smell. Important thing to know about cats is they actually don't have that many taste buds, but they have a lot of smell receptors. So the way that they taste really is more by smell. That's why cat foods tend to be very stinky, and cats tend to like things that have a strong smell. So the stronger the smell, the more likely they are to eat it. A little trick is that if your cats aren't used to eating something like this and you need to kind of get them used to it, you can sprinkle something stinky on it, like a little Parmesan cheese, and that will draw them to it until they get used to eating it. We're also going to put a little bit of healthy mineral salt. Maybe about a tablespoon's worth. All right, salt. I've had a lot of questions about salt in my dog food video. And a lot of people were asking, should they have no salt in their cat and dog food? So here's the thing about salt. Every mammal needs salt. So a lot of people that say no salt at all, that's not the best. Salt is necessary for good heart health, heart function. It's an electrolyte, and it's also good for hydration. You do need some salt. Now in the wild, they would be getting salt from their prey, from the blood. And also animals will seek out rocks that have certain minerals and actually lick them in the wild to get minerals that they're deficient in. So you can put some salt in your cat and your dog food. Just remember they're small animals, so don't put a lot. They don't need a lot. In this recipe, you're going to put maybe a tablespoon, which isn't a lot because it's going to get spread out over many, many, many meals. But a little salt will make it taste better, which will make them more likely to eat it. And they do need a little bit of salt. I would not use table salt. I don't even eat table salt. Use a good quality, healthy mineral salt like pink Himalayan or Celtic salt, or one of those salts that have more of a mineral nutritional profile to it, so they're getting a lot of health benefits from the salt that they're eating. And some water. So we're going to put it on the heat and get it boiling. I'm going to boil mine for a few hours, but you don't have to go that long. You could just go till the meat falls off the bone, however long that is for you. In an Instant Pot, that could be as little as 30 or 40 minutes. Or you could go as long as 4 hours. It just depends on how much time you have and how much nutrient you want to pull from the bones. Alright, I went about 2 hours in the Instant Pot because that's the time that's convenient for me today. Sometimes I go shorter, sometimes I go longer. And then we're going to take, see how easy the bones are coming out? We're going to take the big bones out. It's going to be too hot to touch probably. If you want to leave some bones in, when you do it in an Instant Pot, you can, because it's too hot to touch, but I'm going to show you how soft. See how, this is bone. Look how soft. So that could be blended into the food to give them a little bit, but you'll know when you take it out which ones you know are the softest. You can leave a little. Don't leave them all, it's too much bones, but you can leave a little, but get out most of the big stuff. Ooh, look, they're so soft that even the big ones are falling apart. So now we basically have chicken meat in a good bone broth. I'm going to add about 4 cups of greens. I'm going to throw spinach because it's cheap and easy to find, but you can replace the spinach with any greens. I have a lot of greens and collards in my garden right now that I could use, which would make this part free if you grew your own. They're very easy to grow. 4 cups might seem like a lot, but it's going to melt down to pretty much nothing, so it's not a lot. Alright, that's going to blend in and melt. Alright, now I'm trying to show you, this is like the big knuckle part of that bone, chicken leg bone, big joint, right? Big tough part. Watch. That's how soft they are. So you don't have to worry about a choke hazard. If you don't get every little piece out, it's gonna just melt. It's gonna blend in actually when we blend it all together. So you're good with that. You want to add some organ meat. I'm going to throw in a beef liver. Doesn't matter if it's cut up because I'm going to blend it all later. You can put whatever you can get on hand. Beef liver is easy to get. Just put one for the whole pot because it's going to stretch out between the different meals. But you could also put chicken livers, chicken hearts, any kind of organ meat that you get. You're putting about a half a cup's worth when you put one in there. So you can just put whatever you have on hand. I like to put my organ meat kind of close to the end because I don't want to overcook and cook all the nutrients out of it. So I just put it at the end. And while everything is hot still and boiling, we're going to add in a dozen of eggs. This is going to be like egg drop soup. I have a chicken, so I always have an abundance of eggs. So this part is free for me as well. But the organ meat and the eggs are going to be your highest concentration of nutrition. That's why I like to kind of put them in at the end to kind of preserve as much of that nutrition because heat will diminish vitamin content. It doesn't completely remove it, but it does diminish it. So that's why I just put it in at the end. All right, lastly, I'm going to add 4 cups of pureed pumpkin. You can replace this with any squash, carrots, sweet potato. It would be cheaper to use your own. You can grow your own really, really easy, and then this part would be free as well. And in which case, you would just cut it up and throw it in the beginning when you're cooking your chicken, and it would all cook together regardless. But if you don't have access to that, you can buy squash, carrots, sweet potatoes, or already canned pureed pumpkin even. And put it in, and we're gonna mix that into the broth and get it all incorporated. Now, at this point, I'm gonna leave it like this for mine. I'm gonna blend it up in a second, but at this point, if you wanted to add rice, you could. All right, let's talk about this rice for a minute. At this point, you can add 3 cups of cooked rice if you want. Do you need to? No, you don't have to. Cats do not need carbs. But if you need to stretch it, if it's part of the budget, you know, you can definitely do it. It won't hurt them. I do recommend, if this is maybe the first time you're trying to feed them something that you made yourself, to go ahead and add the rice, because if they're used to eating store-bought food, then they're used to carbs, and they probably have a carb addiction, and they're probably going to want it, and so it'll help them to want to eat it, and then over time you can reduce the rice that you're putting in it. So it's going to stretch it, it's going to make it a little bit cheaper, it's going to make it taste better for them, it's going to make them more likely to eat it, and then if you want to remove it from their diet, just reduce it every time you make it until you're no longer giving it to them. Mine like the broth more than the solid, so I'm not putting any rice. I don't need to, because it dries it up a little bit, and some like it drier. Not dry, but it's going to be more pate like. But mine like the brothiness, so I'm not going to dry it up with the rice. I'm going to just do it like this. You can just put the whole thing in a regular blender if you don't have an immersion blender. And the last step is optional. You can sprinkle in a little Parmesan cheese just for stink factor, to help them to eat it. Cats don't really have a whole lot of taste buds, but they have a lot of smell receptors. So if they can't smell it, they won't eat it. That's why cat food is so fragrant. So anything you can add that will increase the fragrance will increase the likelihood that they eat it.
This is my 13-year-old cat who has always had digestive issues. She has only ever eaten one kind of store-bought food and refuses to eat anything else. When I first introduced her to this better homemade food, At first, she wouldn't even try it. So I waited until the food was completely room temperature. Then I offered her a small amount on the tip of a spoon. I was patient and gave her a little time to smell it, and then she started licking it off the spoon. After doing that for a little while and letting her get a taste of it, I then spread some very thinly on a saucer, and she slowly began to lick that up. I gave her more, and she cleaned the plate. Now she absolutely loves it. This is the only food that she does not ever throw up. So if your cat refuses it at first, have patience and take a little time to work with them. Try the spoon-fed method with them the first 1 or 2 times that they eat it so that they can see that it's safe and okay, and they will absolutely love it.
All right, let's talk about how to store this, because obviously your cat is not going to be eating 20 pounds of cat food too quickly. If you are a canner, you can can this. You're going to be using, your meat times, so that would be 90 minutes for quart jars and 70 minutes for pint jars at 10 pounds of pressure. For those that are heritage water bath canning, it's meat, you got to go 3 hours at least. However, for everybody else, you can store it in the freezer. Here's an interesting thing about mason jars. If you have a jar that has a straight, it's called a wide mouth, but it's a straight neck, you can actually put this in the freezer. Don't fill it all the way up. Fill it to about an inch or so of headspace, which gives it room to expand when it's freezing, and the jar won't break. Now, some jars have a small mouth, a small neck. Don't use those. Those will break. But you have a straight jar like this, you can put that in the freezer. So you could store them in the jars, let them completely cool, stack them in the freezer. Another option that's probably a little better is to portion it out into muffin tins or muffin pans. Put them in the freezer until they freeze, and then you can pop them out. They'll be like little frozen hockey pucks, and put them in a Ziploc bag, store them in the freezer, and you can take them out as you need them and thaw them for your cats to eat. Remember this though, because cats like to smell their food, they won't usually eat things that are cold because they don't smell it very well. So if you're storing it in the fridge or in the freezer, you're going to want to warm it up just a little bit for them to eat it. Ideally, they like things to be somewhere around 100 degrees, about the temperature of a fresh kill. But as long as it's just warm enough to be releasing a little bit of aroma, then that will help them to eat it. So before they eat it, heat it, and they will love it. They usually really only eat about 1 of these spoons at a time because it fills them up because there's real food in it. Sorry, the noise, the dog is eating his homemade food on the floor. So I hope you have found this information helpful. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell for notifications so that you always know when we're putting out new information. Put it in the comments if you have any other suggestions or recipes so that everyone else can share from your knowledge. Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon, and as always, see you next time.